Problem 1. ABC Limited wants to record the revenue figure in the income statement for the year ended 20XX. Gross revenue 5 million, allowances 100,000, sales return 150,000, discounts 250,000. It would be best to compute the net revenue figure based on the above information. Solution: net sales can be calculated using the above formula as gross sales minus sales return minus allowances minus discounts. So we have here the given data: 5 million minus 150,000 minus 100,000 minus 250,000. We will be having a net sales of 4,500,000. Therefore, the firm must record 4,500,000 as revenue or net revenue in its income statement. Problem number 2. If the cost of a fan is 105 pesos and 30 cents and sold for 170 pesos and 90 cents, find the gross profit. Getting the gross profit is really easy. We just need to deduct the cost of goods from the revenue. So in this case, since the cost of fan is 105 pesos and 30 cents, while the selling price is 170 pesos and 90 cents, we will be deducting 170 pesos and 90 cents to 105 pesos and 30 cents. So we can get the 65 pesos and 6 cents gross profit. Problem number 3. ABC Company reported profit before tax of 5,800,000 and income tax expense of 1,500,000 for the current year. In addition, the entity paid during the year an ordinary dividend of 400,000 and a preference dividend of 500,000 on the redeemable preference and shares. The entity had 1 million of 5 pesos par value ordinary shares in issue. The question is, what amount should be reported as basic earnings per share? Solution for problem number 3. So to get the basic earnings per share, we have to divide ordinary shares outstanding, which is the 1 million, to par value ordinary shares, which is the 5 pesos. So 1 million divided by 5 will be equal to 200,000. And we have now to subtract the profit before tax of 5,800,000 to the income tax expense of 1,500,000 for us to get the 4,300,000. And then we have to divide the 4,300,000 to the ordinary shares outstanding, which is the 200,000. So we can get the basic earning per share of 21 pesos and 50 cents. The preference dividend was ignored because the preference shares are redeemable and considered as financial liability. The preference dividend of 500,000 is already deducted from the net income as a finance cost. We are now in problem number 4, wherein we have to find the cost of goods sold, or what we so-called COGS. Here in the picture, we have here particulars and also the amount in million. Under particulars, we have revenue, direct labor, raw material cost, manufacturing overhead, net income, interest expense, and the taxes. The formula to calculate COGS is direct labor plus raw material cost plus manufacturing overhead. So we have here $5.25 million plus $9.75 million plus $1.25 million, and we will be having a COGS of amounting $8.25 million. So that's how we can compute the cost of goods sold. Problem number 5. Let us take the example of Apple Company to illustrate the computation of operating expenses. According to an income statement for 2018, the following information is available. As you can see on the pictures, we have two columns, particulars and the amount. Under particulars, we have your revenue, cost of sales, research and development expense, selling, general and administrative expense, and lastly is the operating income. In problem number 5, it is very easy to compute the operating expense because we just need to add the research and development expense and the selling, general and administrative expense. As we can see on the picture provided on the PowerPoint, we have here the research and development amounting $14,236 million and the selling, general and administrative amounting $16,705 million. And to add those two amounts, we can get the operating expense amounting $30,941 million. But actually in accounting, we can also use the alternative formula, which is revenue minus operating income minus cost of sales. So to explain the alternative approach or formula, first of course we have to determine the cost of goods sold, which is the COGS, of the subject company during that given period. If you're not familiar yet with COGS, it is actually the aggregate cost of production that is directly assignable to the production process, and it includes raw material cost, direct labor cost, and manufacturing overhead. Just like we have mentioned earlier that to get the COGS, we have to add raw material cost, direct labor cost, and the manufacturing overhead. Next is we have to determine the company's operating income for the period from the income statement. After knowing the operating income for the period from the income statement, we have now to determine the revenue achieved by the company for the period. It is usually the first line item in the income statement, and the last step that we have to do is to get the formula for the operating expense, just like I mentioned earlier, that can be derived by deducting revenue minus operating income minus the cost of goods sold.